El campus. We are going to learn vocabulary about el campus. Okay? Y los cursos, your courses, things that you are taking this semester. Now, the word facultad is a fake friend. Okay? Because up until now, I have given you certain words and told you, yeah, they're kind of similar, English and Spanish. So like estudiante, student, hospital, hospital, okay, oficina, office. But on occasion, we get some, like facultad, that look and sound like a certain English word, faculty, but it is not faculty, okay? Because faculty is like the people that work at a college or a university, okay? That's not what it means, okay? In Espanol, the word facultad can mean either department or school, okay? Because depending on the college or university that you go to, you could either have departments or you could have schools of, okay? Here at MVCC, we have departments, okay? If you go to, if you transfer to a four-year school, they might have departments. They might also have, like, they might call it a school, like the School of Science or the School of whatever, okay? But that's basically what it means. Now, this word is part of the vocabulario. I am a member of the Facultad de Humanidades. What do you think? Humanidades. Kind of sort of looks like. Yeah. I was going to say, even though facultad is a fake friend, humanidades is a friend. It does mean what it looks like. So I am a part of the humanities department. Okay? And, the decana is the decana of la Facultad de Humanidades. So the word facultad means department or school. Okay? That is important because you have un campus, you have the different facultades, the different departments, okay? And they try to make it like with the little drawing, kind of, sort of, but also the names kind of help you out on occasion. So starting on the left-hand side, far left, okay? Facultad de Ciencias, and you have a microscope there to kind of give you a hint. What do you think, ciencias? Sciences. So that would be the science department. Oh, and just FYI, once you get to a bigger school that's not a community college, like each department literally has its own building. So you walk into the science department and it's like all science rooms and labs and shit like that. Here, obviously, we share all of these here are labs. Although we do have a dedicated chemistry one. And then like if you went to the groundbreaking, they're going to build like a new science building, like between here and the gym. Yeah, I know you guys won't be around, but it is going to be a science building. There would be nothing but labs in there. But Facultad de Ciencias, okay? So science department or science building, okay? There are individual words for the individual sciences. We only get to teach you like 2 or 3 of them, so, be patient or just say you're taking a science class. Moving on to the next building. Facultad de Lenguas Extranjeras, and it has the flag of France, of Japan, of Germany. No? Lengua literally means tongue. Extranjera means foreign. In Spanish, we call them foreign tongues, but in English, foreign languages. Okay, the foreign language department. Okay. Bigger schools do have a foreign language department, even bigger ones. Where I went to graduate school, even my undergraduate literally had a Spanish department, like there was like 20 Spanish teachers, like it was its own group, okay? Moving on down, un poquito, to the right, Facultad de Educación. What is educación? Education, yeah, if you're an education major. Okay, we have that here in MVCC. Anyone here in la Facultad de Educación? Unos. That's it? Oh my gosh, usually I get more. Educación. All right, muy bien. Now, here is another fake friend. Moving on down un poquito. Librería does not mean library, even though it looks like the word library, even though some of your native speaker friends might say librería, it just means they've been around English speakers for way too long. Okay, it does have to do with books though. Okay, if you look at the sign libro de texto, where would you buy your libros de texto? Bookstore. Gracias. Yes. So librería means bookstore, not library. Okay, so librería, bookstore. Okay, having gone through that, the next one, it does mean what you think it means. El gimnasio. The gymnasium, okay? Now, in English, we sometimes call it the gym, okay? Or we always call it the gym. In Espanol, you can't shorten it to el gym. You have to say el gimnasio, all right? The whole thing, all right? Moving over to the right, un poquito, where you see the scales of justice. Facultad de Derecho. Derecho means law. Okay, the closest thing we have here at MVCC would be criminal justice. All right, so the criminal justice department or the law department. It kind of depends because some bigger schools do have a law school. I know Syracuse does. I know Albany does. Okay, UU or SUNY Poly don't. All right, so if there's a law school where you study to be a lawyer, then Facultad de Derecho. Otherwise, it would just be like criminal justice. Okay. David asked earlier, but the center building there, Centro Estudiantil. Okay, the student center. We really don't have one unless you count ACC, but that's kind of a mix of things. Bigger campuses do have just a building where you just go and hang out, and there's just couches and TVs and games and all kinds of. The one where I went to, they had pool tables, but nobody ever played them. And back in the day when video games were that big, you had to put quarters in it. Anyways, so yeah, okay. Right below that, you have Facultad de Ingeniería, okay. This one I suppose you can kind of make out, and it's got I want to say protractor, but it's not a protractor. Compass. What do you think? Ingeniería. Engineering, yeah. So the School of Engineering. Some colleges do have an engineering department, bigger schools, obviously. With us here, we combine it with science and math, and that's why we call it STEM. Science, technology, engineering, math. It's all one big department. Okay? Now, this next word is a fake friend. Residencia does not mean residence. But if you look inside, you have a bunk bed, you have a desk, you have a bunk bed, you have a desk, you have a bunk bed, you have a desk. Where would you have big buildings like that with a place to sleep and a place to work and a place to live? Dorms, yeah. So residencia means dorms. Now, the reason why we call it that is because the real word for dorms is residence halls, okay? So we call it la residencia. Anyone here live? I know there's at least one of you live in las residencias. Cheyenne, oh, more than one. Okay, some, all right, en las residencias. Okay. Now, once again, this is a friend. It does mean what it looks like. La cafeteria. Cafeteria. It's literally spelled the same in both English and Spanish, except in Spanish we put an accent mark on the I. Okay, la cafeteria. Going over to the next page. This one's also really hard. At the very top, el apartamento. Apartment. Literally the word apartment with an O. All right, apartamento. Okay. This next one is really, really long. Administración de empresas. And if you look, there's like a dollar sign and some kind of graph. That is what we call business in Espanol. All right. So if you're a business major or taking business classes, administración de empresas. In Spanish, we literally do not call it business, we call it company administration. Empresa means company, so you're learning how to run a company, okay? Ciencia social. We already said ciencia is science. What would social be? Yeah, so the social sciences. So things like psychology, sociology, anthropology, econ, things like that, okay? Oficina. Yeah, in this case though, not so much here, but once again, in bigger schools, sometimes you have a building that is dedicated to just like faculty and staff offices. The closest thing we would have is Payne Hall, but I say closest because in the middle is a library. Most colleges don't have the library in the middle of the administration building, the oficinas. So yeah, okay. Periodismo means journalism. You don't really see a lot of journalism departments anymore, so that one's a little outdated. Here at MV, we literally only have one clase de periodismo. We don't even have a newspaper. Moving on down. Biblioteca. Does anyone know what a biblioteca? Yeah, that's the library. Not libreria, but biblioteca. Okay, and just FYI, the word biblio is literally Latin for book. All right, so we use the Latin word in Espanol. Okay, biblioteca. And then finally, medicina.
School of Medicine?
School of Medicine, yeah. Now, once again, kind of like law school, there are some colleges that literally have a medical school, like I know Syracuse and Albany do, okay, where you train to be doctors. But remember that medicina isn't just becoming a doctor. Here, we also have a nursing school, we have radiology, we have respiratory therapy. There's one more and I can't remember. So that could be considered La Facultad de Medicina. Here we call it health professions. It's the health profession department and stuff like that. All right? If you go to the blue column, all right, as I explained before, I'm not going to go through all of them, but you still need to know what they are. So, for example, okay, this is a really, really hard one. Arte. Art, yeah. So if you're taking art classes or you're an art major, okay, if you skip down a few, because Señor Santos also teaches la historia, okay, history, la historia, all right. Some of you might be taking clase de literatura, all right, literature. Once you take Inglés uno and dos, you could take, different literature classes. Matemáticas, math, okay? In Espanol, we say the whole word. You can't just say mate. You have to say matemáticas. And yes, we do have names for the individual maths. If you really want to learn, if you really want to know what calculus is or trigonometry, I can tell you, I suppose, but just matemáticas is fine if you're taking math, okay? Please, please, please don't confuse these because it does happen with a lot of students, only because in Espanol we don't use that silent P. Psicología is psychology, sociología is sociology, all right? If you go then to the bottom part, they literally have a separate thing for lenguas extranjeras, foreign languages, okay? Everybody's favorite, of course, Espanol is somewhere, all right? But Alemán, German, English, Japonese, Japanese, Russo, Russian, okay? If there's a language there that you want to know what it is, but it's not listed, just ask. Señor Santos probably knows what it's called en Espanol, all right? Before we finish, if you go to the next page, to page 33, 33, all right? They do give you some of the sciences, Okay, so biología, biology, okay, física, physics, química, chemistry. So if you are specifically taking one of those classes, you can use those words. Otherwise, ciencia is just fine, all right? I know every now and then I get some accounting people, so contabilidad, okay, accounting, and they do give you humanidades, fortunately, so that I can, describe my department, all right? The last thing, okay, and it's kind of sort of there, but not really, all right? In the Spanish-speaking world, everything that is post-high school is considered la universidad, okay? So I know that you are here at a two-year college, at a community college, and while the concept of a trade school, which is part of what we do here at MBCC, is, known in the Spanish-speaking world, what many of you are doing here, like getting your general eds out of the way and then hoping to transfer to another school, that's kind of a newer concept. So when you talk about being un estudiante, number one, even though you are at a community college, in Spanish, it would translate to la universidad. Okay, so you would say you are an estudiante en la universidad. Now, in Spanish, there is a word, colegio. This is another fake friend because it does not mean college, all right? Depending on the country, because remember there's 21 countries with Spanish as a language, colegio either refers to high school or it could be any grade, but it's a private school versus public. So if you say that you go to a colegio, then once again, if you're like, I know in Argentina it's high school, and then I know in Mexico you say you go to colegio, it means that you attend private school, right? As opposed to escuela pública, public school. All right. So even though some people want to say, oh yeah, I'm a student at Colegio Mohawk Valley, technically that's a mistake, a mistranslation. Okay. You would say that you are an estudiante en la universidad. Okay? Now, having said that, but Mr. Santos, it says here that there is a colegio universitario. Yes, because we do have a lot of Spanish speakers here in the United States. Okay? And to come up with a more accurate translation for community college, I don't really use this, but if you want to, I'm not going to test you on it because I don't like that translation. You can say that you're an estudiante en el colegio universitario. They've literally combined the word for high school and university and use that to describe a community college. Okay, but that is typically only used amongst Hispanics, Latinos here in the U.S. If you were to go somewhere else, they'd probably be like, what are you talking about, Brady? And you're like, oh, no, la universidad. Like, I'm a student at la universidad. Okay? So, preguntas, questions. We've unfortunately run out of time, so we will continue. We'll do some ejercicios.